welcome to No Movies in Hell. I'm Chris Geiger.
I'm your co-host, LaCroix Scott, and we have an amazing guest today for our horror movie episode, Sage Young.
Hi, thank you all for having me. This is really fun. I'm excited to talk about horror movies.
Yay!
As are we. Similar to other top 5 countdowns or top 3 countdowns that we've done in the past, we're just going to kind of go around and start with our number 3 horror movie from this year, so from 2022. Sage, do you want to start?
Oh, sure. I do want to put like an asterisk on all my picks because there's so many that have come out this year that I haven't had a chance to see yet. So like I haven't seen Barbarian, I haven't seen Smile. I was like waiting for these things to come on streaming. So if you're watching this or listening and you are wondering why I did not say those things, it's because I haven't seen them yet. It's not because I don't think they're great. Anyway, I think my number 3, I really enjoyed Fresh on Hulu. With Sebastian Stan and Daisy Edgar Jones. I thought it was like kind of a unique take on the sort of feminist horror theme. I really liked how you really could see why she kind of went for this guy. Like it's really, if you haven't watched it, like you're like, oh yeah, I can see how you would maybe end up in that situation. Or a lot of the times you're like, girl, like get out of that house. Yeah, it was like fun. It was tongue in cheek. It had a feminist ending that didn't feel like, ugh, we get it. Like it wasn't to like hit you over the head with it. Yeah, I had a lot of fun watching it, and I liked that it was sort of just like a rom-com that takes like a horrible left turn at a certain point.
Awesome. LaCroix, what's your number 3?
Oh, my number 3. This is so hard. It is Pearl. I know this is like relatively like the last couple weeks we reviewed Pearl. I absolutely love this horror film as it dove into the backstory of one of the main characters from X. So you just get to draw this out, and it's not so much, I guess, the traditional horror. It's more of understanding the psychology of how this woman becomes to be such a murderous person. And I really, really enjoyed it. I thought the shots were really good. I thought Mia Goth was amazing. It was like you kind of root for her after everything that's said and done with this character, and then it makes you want to watch X again to kind of understand the psyche and dig a little deeper.
Agree. The number 3, so I had a hard time picking the 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really a horror movie person, I should say, but I picked for my number 3 a foreign film, Hatching.
Oh yeah,
was disturbing but sort of understandable in that the situations that this girl finds herself in and the way that she has to sort of manifest her feelings becomes this angry bird creature. But it was weird and interesting, and every scene there was something compelling about it, and the characters were quirky, and it was just great. It was not traditional horror movie. I don't know if you had a chance to see that, Sage, or
No, I haven't seen it, but it sounds great.
I think it's on streaming right now.
Yeah,
I've definitely heard of it.
What was your number 2?
Orphan First Kill.
Nice.
I had not seen actually the original Orphan until right before I like watched them both in the same night because they showed up. I think they were both on Paramount streaming, but I knew the twist from the first one. Obviously, it's like a classic twist. And I love that the second movie really just kind of embraces the camp of this is like a grown woman now for real who's playing that same character literally in years before or like a year before the events of the first film. And so you have to just sort of grab hold of that suspension of disbelief, and the tricks that they use to make her seem like still someone who looks like a child are all like sort of real, you know, they're practical effects. It's like she's sitting down while somebody's standing up, but it looks like they're both standing up, like that kind of a vibe. But I loved the campiness of it. It had, you're like, oh, how could this have as effective of a twist as the first movie? And then it does with like a great performance by Julia Stiles. There are some movies that like I watched the American remake of Goodnight Mommy, and they were like, oh, we made this relevant by like changing the ending, blah blah blah. And if you've seen it, you know what I mean by changing the ending. And it just seems like these sort of like ham-fisted attempts at like making some sort of statement about the world today. But what they did with Orphan First Kill was, it's so clever and it's so funny and it's so tongue-in-cheek, and it's definitely speaking to like a specific societal problem, the Lori Loughlin school of getting into college and like making your kids successful. So I got a big kick out of it. I thought Isabella Fuhrman was really funny and fun, and yeah, it was a worthy successor to that first movie.
Wow.
Nice. Now I feel like I need to watch it.
It's really fun. It's really fun.
I will put that on my list. Look, wow, what was your number 2?
My number 2 this year, I will have to say that it's Prey. I wasn't really looking forward to this film. It was like, I knew that it was coming, and, I was like, oh, I'll watch it. I didn't really know the backstory. I haven't watched the last Predator film, was Predators, with Adrian Brody, and gosh, there are a bunch of people that their names all escape me at this moment. But so I knew that there's something, and I've heard rumblings of like a precursor to the actual like Predator film. But I had like so this is a long-winded way of saying that, like, I had no desire, like no pretension going into this film, and I really ended up enjoying it. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the story, the background, and that it's taking a woman to kind of like outwit an advanced like alien technology being, using just minimal resources and the cutest dog ever. So I really hope that, I hope to see more films like that, where it's a little believable. I mean, it's a woman, she's saying that she's seeing things, people are not believing her, but also it's the turn of the century, so there's trappers, there's people here, early colonization of America, so there are a lot of different backstories going into this single moment, and I really enjoyed this film. Yeah,
I thought the trappers got like a pretty good shake in that movie. Like they were portrayed very, like, like a lot of movies will portray the trappers in a very sinister way, but they actually came off pretty well in that. My number 2 is Men.
Yeah, yes.
Always terrifying.
Right. I thought they did a really good job of presenting. It wasn't a tremendously new theme, but I think they did a really good job of presenting it and building up that horror using some classic tropes, right? There's this huge house that has no curtains, she's out by herself. So I thought they just did a really good job of combining the genre with a relevant topic that they wanted to. I did think it was a little bit over the top, like the final series of birthings.
Oh, yeah.
A little excessive, right? Like how many of these? I remember thinking, like, how many of these are we gonna watch? Overall, I thought it was great. Did you guys have any thoughts about Men?
I liked it a lot,
and I love Jessie Buckley.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah,
I love her.
Really,
yeah, she's one of those people who whatever she does, I'll go see.
Yeah, I'm waiting for her to get her Oscar. It's gonna happen eventually. Yes. It's only a matter of time.
Sage, what's your number 1 for 2022?
Okay, this is gonna be an unpopular opinion, I think, because this movie has like a 20-something% on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm pretty sure. But it's The Invitation. The Invitation rules. I don't know if people just didn't go into it with the right frame of mind, or like kind of ready to take the ride, but I thought it was a blast. I also think, however, the trailer gives too much of the movie away.
Okay.
It gives way too much away, where to the point where I was like, this was not necessary to reveal this much going in. But it's like, how many times can you do Dracula? How many times, and how good can it possibly be? And I think where, in the same way that Fresh sort of succeeds in this, the vampire like seductor is like extremely compelling, and it's like it's like a very horny vampire movie up until the moment when she decides that she has to get out of this. But it felt like it reminded me a lot of Ready or Not, which is another one of my favorites from the past couple of years, where it's that same sort of vibe of like there's this girl in this house and all of these people are crazy and are trying to kill her, and it's her literally against the rest of them. So there's that sort of vibe, and she's in a, you know, bridal gown, so there's that element too. It's pretty similar in that way. You know, it deals with, you know, with the whole reveal of basically what this whole plot is that these families have cooked up together. It has to do with classism, it has to do with racism, it has to do with sexism, and once again, it's all done in a way where nobody stops the movie to like explain to you why it's important. It's just part and parcel of what you're watching, and it's all integrated into the plot. Great performances. I didn't know the actor who plays that part before. I think he's on the new Gossip Girl.
Oh,
Thomas
yes.
Doherty.
Yeah. Yes.
He's Scottish, I think.
Oh,
wow. Like, wow. Great Dracula.
Watch the new Gossip Girl.
Say. So good. It was I went on like a Saturday by myself because I was like, nobody else is going to want to see this movie because it's supposed to be terrible. And then I came out thinking, like, do people just not like to have fun? Like, I don't understand. Why would you deny yourself?
I do think some people don't like to have fun.
It's true.
That's interesting. I wanted to see that when it came out. I think I was out of town the first couple of weeks that it was out, and then it just got kind of buried in the other stuff that was rolling out quickly. But the trailer looks awesome. Like it reminded me of Crimson Peak a little bit because everything was so pretty. Like, you know, everything is so well preserved from that historical period, sort of, and the textile porn of the dresses and all of that. Like
the production design is great. The costumes are great. Yeah. It just like, it has a vibe. It sets a mood. And it really just sort of like draws you in. Like I felt like I was, you know, going in and just saying like, okay, I'm in this for whatever it's going to be. It really does like take you on that kind of journey. It's like, yeah, it has like an immersive sort of vibe. Like if you just go with it, I think you'll have fun.
Cool. I think it's still running. I think it's still showing in theaters right now.
Nice.
Like a one time of day run.
Yeah, probably.
Noon,
so like 10 a.m.
Right.
Yeah.
LaCroix, what is your number one for this year?
So my number one for this year will have to be Nope. So I waited, I mean, like many other people, have waited a very long time for the next Jordan Peele horror film. I was pleasantly surprised by this. I know that it's I'm, I guess, in the minority when it comes to how much I enjoyed this film, from the premise to the final reveal to how they set it up. And then I think for me, what put this film over the edge was a new type of a scare tactic, I guess. So spoiler alert in this, and I think we probably covered this in the when we reviewed the actual film, but I've never, the sound quality of this film, and there's the moment when I guess alien, for lack of a better word, when the crowd gets stuck in the esophagus was the most horrifying thing in the world. Like, I think that kept me up at night because it was just the sound. And I've never experienced that ever in a film. And also just seeing this like beautiful creature, and it's like, wow, that's a thing. And usually you're just so used to seeing something just kind of horrible looking, and it's kind of like that contradiction, almost like the sexy vampire, but except for it's like this beautiful alien, and you're so used to just aliens with goop and crap and all this other stuff on them, or beams and all that other fun stuff. But from the backstory, the costuming, the relationships of everybody there, just the desolation of small town in California. Is it believable or is it not? And the attention to everybody and the attention to the spectacle, you know, what is popular at the time, you have to be a part of it, and you see it every single day. And it's just like, if you just mind your business, quite literally, or not fuck around and find out, you'll be safe.
That's funny. I had that on my list, but then I think in my brain, I sort of classified Nope as a science fiction movie, which I know I know it doesn't have to be like one or the other. It can be sci-fi horror, but I don't know. In my mind, I don't know. It feels more sci-fi to me, but everything you said is also true.
What's your number one?
What is my number one? It's Pearl.
Yay!
I even bought this hat.
Oh my
Love
God.
it.
Nice.
I never dress up for Halloween. I never go to Halloween parties. It's just not like my friend group usually doesn't do that sort of thing. So, but this year we've been invited to dress up Halloween party. And so I was like, I don't have a costume, but then I saw Pearl and I was like, that's it. Fortunately, I already own a pair of overalls. But I thought Pearl was great. I did think Mia Goth was amazing. Like I went into it not expecting to be wowed, but she was great. The scene at the table, we talked about this in our review of it, but just amazing and so relatable. I think for so many people that's really the horrifying part is that the crossing of the edge, like that line is so thin, and that so many people are right up to the edge, is really that uncanny valley of, oh wait. And a lot of people who feel that way, I think, whether it was in the 19 whatever 20s when she was or beyond that. Oh, I guess it was like late 20s because it was the Scarlet Fever, right? Or
Yeah.
what was, yeah.
So 1919, 1920. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we'll go through like our top 5 for all time horror.
So I'm going to start with It Follows. Ooh. I can't think of like horror movie from recent years that has scared me as much as we did, both in the moment, in the theater. I mean, some of those jump scares are just, I think about them still. The tall man in the doorway, the person on the top of the house, like on the roof of the house, like
yes.
Terrifying. And then it like haunted me later too. I thought about it for days after, and I rewatched it again recently and I was like, oh yeah, this like still slaps. And I love like a low budget horror movie that can create that kind of a mood with, you know, very little need for effects, or, you know, it was really just people and makeup and music. And I think Micah Monroe is also great. Yeah, It Follows. It's great.
That is such a good one.
So good.
LaCroix.
Oh, this is so hard. You don't understand. Like mine, yeah, I guess horror. I'm trying to like stay centrally focused on horror, but yeah, it might go in different directions. But I would have to say my number 5 is High Tension. It is a French film from early 2000s, and it's one of those like nouveau, I guess there's a twist. So it's woman, her friend is staying with her, and like these series of incidents happen and they don't know what's happening. Someone's killing people, they don't know what's happening. There's a huge twist at the end, and I think that like in the moment watching that, I was like, oh, this is one, female horror, 2, it's the first time that I kind of, I don't know, it just reawakened like my sense of wanting to watch more horror films that are very different and outside of just, you know, the Freddy, the slasher killer films, or like the Screams of the world, which was like a revival of teen horror and with some camp. So this one was like definitely a slasher film. I've never seen anything like it. And it makes me want to watch it again. But I was like, this is definitely like a top 5 for me. Yeah, Cecile de France, isn't it the main character? What about you, Chris? What is your top 5 of all time?
So I narrowed it down to 5, but they're not really ranked in that 5. They're just like 5 that I would, if I saw them like available on streaming, I would stop and watch them. So they're not necessarily all the most amazing cinematic, you know, bonbons, but for whatever reason, I like them. So I guess number 5 would be Christine.
Nice.
So a lot of them are nostalgia picks. I'll just give
same.
Christine, classic, like, and Christine sort of represents to me all of Stephen King's movies, right? They're all very similar in look and feel, and it was probably one of the first ones that I had seen from him. So it just has a kind of special pocket. And I've never seen it on the big screen. I've only seen it on TV when there were commercial breaks, and, you know, so I'm sure it's a very different experience to have seen it when it first came out. But that is my number 5. What about you for number 4, Sage?
Yeah, speaking of nostalgia picks, I have to go with the original Scream just for like the journey that it set me on and the time, I mean, it just hit at a perfect age for me and for I think so many of us who are of this generation and like horror movies. It was, I think, before being self-referential was really like everywhere.
Mhm.
It felt fresh in that way. Two amazing villain performances. Like I rewatched that movie and I'm still like, Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard are like two of the greatest like horror villains of all time. They're so funny. It's very homoerotic. We all know there's subtext with that. That is definitely, like you were saying, Chris, it's like if it's on, I'm watching it. Like there's no way if Scream is on somewhere that I'm not going to stop and watch it from like whatever place it is in. And maybe that's a basic answer, but I have to live my truth.
You have to live your truth. All right, LaQuia, you're up.
Oh, this is so hard. This is really, really tough. I would have to say my number 4 is The Descent. So I have like external memories, outside of the film. I have memories of watching this film, and it kind of brings together kind of like the heightened awareness of why I think this is a top horror film. So I had, for backstory, I took my little brother to see this with me because he wanted to see a horror movie. Obviously, it's rated R, and he was probably like 9 or 10 at the time.
Wow.
I knew the premise going in. These women are going to hike in the Appalachians and go cave dwelling. I don't even know if that's the right term for what they're doing, but they're going to caves, and there's tension within the group. Like something clearly has gone down, but like unresolved tension. They go, and it's these human cannibal humanoids, and they're trying to resolve their issues and escape these things. And I've never been in a movie theater where I saw someone get up out of their chair and run to the end of the aisle and try to hide underneath some chairs at a jump scare part.
Oh my
God.
God.
Wow.
Hilarious. Like it was to the point where it's so scary that me and my little brother like looked at each other and just started bursting out laughing. At what, like, did we just see this? Like this just happened. It is, I think there's a sequel. I would definitely recommend the first one. I think that, I don't know if it, for me, I felt like it went under the radar. In later years, I ended up buying the DVD to just rewatch the character development, because there was so much, that was unsaid, and so much other storytelling other than like the backdrop of these like subatomic humans. But what's funny is like now we have like The Walking Dead and all these other like kind of zombie-esque dead characters that are around, and you have like plots and subplots that do not revolve around them at all. And I feel like this was probably one of the first films that I've seen that kind of had that landscape of like, we're just trying to survive here, and then we're also trying to survive micro and macro. And I thought that was pretty amazing. So Chris, what is your number 4?
So my number 4 is The Lost Boys.
Ooh.
And again, like
nice.
so nostalgic, but like one of those movies that I saw when I was younger, and I was just like, yes, love it all, love the look of it, love the people in it. Like it was great. And I actually got to see it in the theater recently, so that was fun because I had only ever seen it on TV with commercial breaks and all of that. It was as I remember it, and it was fantastic.
So have you seen Near Dark?
It's such a good one.
I just watched that. If you have Criterion, it's in their 80s horror collection, and I guess it's Catherine Bigelow, and I guess it was sort of like in the wake of the Lost Boys' success. And it's kind of it's a Western, but it's a vampire story, and it's like a love story, and it's a lot of fun. And apparently it has not been on streaming for quite a while, so people are like excited that it's accessible again. But if you love Lost Boys, I think you would really like it.
Yes, and I love Westerns, so
yeah, perfect. Like it's beautifully shot. It's like a gorgeous movie. Bill Paxton's in it.
Wow.
Lance Henriksen, like I had never even heard of it until a couple days ago. Now I love it.
Awesome. I wrote that down. I'm gonna check that out. Sage, what is your number 3?
That was not my pick. I don't know if this is my number 3. I'm just going to say in whatever order, but I think it's Rosemary's Baby is definitely up in my top 5. And the reason for that is that I have like, when I was a kid, when I was really little, one of the worst nightmares I ever had, I like woke up and I like ran into my parents' room and they were like, what happened? What did you have a dream about? And I was like, I dreamed I was having a baby. And they laughed at me because they were like, oh, that's nothing to be afraid of. And I was like, wrong. Because I had seen like birth scenes and stuff on TV, just like, you know, TV movie stuff, nothing like horrifying. But to me, it was so scary. Like, and I'm still afraid of it. Like, this is no offense to anybody who has ever given birth. Obviously, it's a beautiful, amazing thing. But to me, pregnancy is body horror. Like it's upsetting to me to think about myself personally, not about other people. So Rosemary's Baby, obviously I just have that, there's that fear of something alien growing inside you. That's very scary. And then also just the paranoia of gradually realizing that you cannot trust a single person around you. And then it's just like, it's such a classic New York City movie. So yeah, I've seen it a bunch of times and read the book, and it freaks me out. It's a classic for a reason.
Definitely. What about you, LaCroix?
Number 3. Tough. I would have to say it's 2017 part 1.
Yep.
I saw bits and pieces of the first It, and I'm like shocked that they actually played it on television. It's like prime time, like, you know, I've seen bits and pieces of that, didn't really know the story going in. And so I think it was like the first time I seen actually a 8 a.m. show at Alamo Theater, and it was this movie. So it started my day. And I love the cast. Bill Skarsgård is like terrifying. He just like, I can't, he's such a great actor. I'm maybe he's a wonderful human being, but he is the Pennywise to me. The casting was great. The story was great. The special effects were amazing. Not horror related, but in the context of when Pennywise flies over Derry and with the balloon, it was very Michael Jordan moment. It was very funny, but some of those jump scares and tactics that were experienced by the children and like their fears, it was just terrible. Like things coming out of the sink, horrifying. Being in a library and like, you know, having things follow you or having things manifest. I think it was the projection in the garage when they were trying to like go through all the photos to see where he was, and he comes out of the projection, was just so terrifying. It's a great film. I think I've seen it once outside of the theater. Like I think maybe it was on TBS with commercials, but like it just, the experience of being in the theater and watching it the first time early in the morning, I was like, oh, you know, I'll get this out of my head or whatever by the end of the day. Absolutely not. Yes, it was It part 1. What was your number 3, Chris?
So my number 3 is Zombie for Sale. It's a Korean
Cool.
horror comedy romance caper. I like, if you can string together descriptors, like it probably falls in zombie movie. It was great, and it's the first time I've seen a horror movie that would successfully combined all of those things. And I saw it a few years ago as part of the New York Asian Film Festival, but I do think it's available on streaming right now. I can't remember what platform. I want to say Amazon Prime, but I'll look it up and put it in the comments down in the description below. Highly recommend. It's definitely something I've never seen before, but was truly entertaining, not scary, but still in that horror genre. So you could show your teenage kids if you want it. There are zombies, of course, that it's a little gory, but yeah. What about you, Sage? Number 2.
Okay. I just made like a last minute decision while you were talking too, because I've been between a couple. Oh God, there's so many. I'm going to say The Ring.
Oh.
So I actually saw Ringu before that. My brother is like very into all types of Asian cinema, and he had I don't know where he got this copy of it because it was before like it had really been released in the US. And it was to the point where like the subtitles were wrong. Like he was saying, like, because he had watched it already, he was like, when they say this name in the subtitles, they really mean this person. Like they're talking about two different characters, but the subtitles were wrong. So this is the level of like bootleg we're watching. And it scared the daylights out of me. The video that they watch, I think the video is scarier in the original version than it is in the American version, but it's still terrifying. The horse jumping off, like that gives me chills every time I think about it. I love the way the American movie is shot. I love the sort of like blue tint of all the memories. It's all like very cold and dark, which is how you're supposed to feel. There's some great, really good jump scares. The girl in the closet always makes me jump whenever I see that. We love a creepy kid who is like haunted. By the way, I looked up that kid from The Ring, from the American one, a couple of months ago, and he's like a genius. Like he graduated like college when he was like 14 years old, and now he like works for the government. So anyway, so that kid was precocious and like in a wild way. And then there's like a Brian Cox performance. Davy Chase is so great and so scary. Even though I knew the ending was coming, obviously, because I had seen the original one, it still hits, like it still works. So I think I tend to like these sort of like atmospheric horror movies that really just like, you can never relax. Like you never feel like you can take a breath, even if there isn't like another jump scare around the corner, because you just don't know.
On the edge of your seats.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Oh, this is so hard. This is very, very hard. I would have to say that it's Alien, Ridley Scott, Sigourney Weaver as like, I don't want to say she's a final girl, but she kind of is. But it was like terrifying as a child seeing this on television. Like, and they played it. I feel like they played it quite often, and they didn't really edit out much either. And seeing like it's such isolation. Like you're alone. You're with Nostromo is like trying to they're on a rescue mission. Like what could go wrong, quote unquote, but it's like these things that evolve and they're smart and they have a queen. And so it's like, it was mind blowing for me to see things evolve and transform, and the way that they did some of these shots in like chest bursters and like the different like geno and phenotypes of aliens we still have today. It's such classic horror, completely terrifying, but then it's like it was so great and refreshing to know that a cat survives and like the female protagonist survives. And I revisit this every once in a while, but because I like space and I like sci-fi, but the body horror in this was just excellent and awful at the same time. And I really like this film. How about you, Chris? What is your number 2?
My number 2 is The Orphanage.
Ah.
There is one scene in that movie that I can still envision in my head and still freaks me out. That's really why. I mean, it's Guillermo del Toro, so of course it's beautiful and everything is perfect, and it's a good story. It's a very simple story, but it's great. But it's that one scene in the bathroom where it's just like, oh my God, that gets me every time I think about it. So yeah, The Orphanage.
Nice.
All right, Sage, your number 1 favorite horror
This
movie?
is my number 1. This one is actually ranked number 1. And
Okay.
I agree with the Claw because I love It Chapter 1 so much. It is the horror movie that I rewatched the most. When I was a kid, and we used to have these like big sleepovers with like 15 girls, and we would rent the same horror movies over and over again. One of which was Candyman, and the other one was the 1990 It miniseries, which I also love. I think it's like, it's an incredible piece of, you can't really actually believe that they pulled that off for television. It was when, miniseries were such a big deal, and TV movies like were a big deal, and you could get all these big stars in them. So I already have like a ton of nostalgia for that miniseries. So I was really looking forward to the movie. And I think, what I really love about it, I've read the book too several times, that it is about the horror of childhood. Like, it is about the horror of being a child and being powerless in the world around you, you know, that there are very few things that you can do to change your circumstances when you are a kid, and that it's about these kids coming together and kind of building this sort of power like around themselves as a group. I went to see it with my friends, and my friend who was sitting next to me was like, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "What?" And she was like, "You spent that entire movie like smiling." And I was like, "Because I had a great time." It was just, they're just such a, the casting is so great. The kids are amazing. They're such a great gang. Like, I really like, as scary as it is, and as unflinching as the portrayal of the hardships in their lives, like the abuse, the, you know, the racism they deal with, the bullying, the yada yada yada, like all the stuff that's going on with them, despite how unflinching that is, like, you just like being in that world because it's so fully formed, and those kids have such a great rapport. And you know, the second one did what the second one did, and I don't think it's like completely worthless, but the first one is just, I thought it really captured the tone of the book incredibly well. And yeah, Bill Skarsgård, the fact that he can do that stuff with his face, like he can just do that with his face. It's not he can make his eyes go in like two different directions. I have no idea how he does it. And to take a role from Tim Curry and like make it your own is, that's it's quite a feat.
Yes. Oh man.
True story.
Oh, this is so hard. My number one, I tossed back and forth, but with many, but I would have to say it's Get Out, Jordan Peele. I love this to death, like from the beginning all the way to the heroic end, where it was, well, I wouldn't say it's a plot twist, but like I felt like it's a comfort watch, almost like you, Sage, like with it, with it. It's a comfort watch because it was like you knew kind of the premise going into it, you knew it was going to happen, but you had to watch it to see how it would happen. And it was so fun to see how it would happen and how Chris would get himself out of the situation. And the way that it was meticulously done, and all the alliteration and all the like the isolation, the complicated codes, the nuances, and then it was just kind of like, no, you got to break free, and you see all these characters, and I mean, I just enjoyed it so much. I think I saw it 3 times in the theater.
Nice.
And I went to like, I think I went to like the Magic Johnson Theater to see it first, and then I went to like a Nighthawk to see it again, and then I went to like an AMC. I did not see it at Alamo because like people need to express how they feel in films like this, and you know, you probably get kicked out of an Alamo. But every time it's on TV, it's like, it's almost like background noise, like, oh sweet, I can like, you know, do something else and watch this. But I absolutely love that film. Kind of sci-fi horror, you know, social commentary, which I think is a lot of horror. Really great film out the gate.
Good. I love a body swap too, and I feel like people don't really talk about Get Out in terms of being a body swap, but it is.
Yes, yes.
Whole, how they're doing everything. So good.
It's so hard to do body swapping well.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Chris, what's your number one?
My number one is Midsommar.
Ooh,
good choice.
That is a
good
top
choices.
one for me.
And I didn't know what it was about. I had seen Hereditary. Like, why you mentioned Midsommar to me a couple times, and I was like, why didn't I, like, it came and went in the theater. It seemed really fast. And so I was like, why didn't I go see that when it was out? I had no idea. The trailer, you know, or the image is just Florence with the daisy crown on, crying. So I wasn't sure what was happening. I did like Hereditary up until like the last 5 minutes. But I thought Midsommar was great. And it has one of those scenes in it where you're like, oh my God, did that just, what just happened? Florence Pugh, that was the first Florence Pugh movie I saw. She was awesome. Yeah, it was great.
I love Midsommar.
That's so good. I love the roasting of academics. That's kind of my favorite thing, is that like the whole fight starts with they're like, well, that's my thesis topic. No, it's my thesis topic. And it was just such a great, they just really kind of destroy that archetype, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay, do you guys have any honorable mentions you just want to throw out there with no explanation?
Oh, The Shining.
Mm.
You know.
Under the Skin.
Mm.
I thought that was more in the sci-fi category than horror, but yeah.
Okay. Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Mm.
Nice. That is a gorgeous movie.
It's amazing.
It's so beautiful and everybody's hot. Oh, Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, yes.
Classic.
I wasn't like horror comedy.
I know.
Like,
I wanted to pick like pure horror, but like it counts as an honorable mention for sure. It's scary. There are scary parts in it.
Yeah. I have The Craft. I don't know if that's full on horror
That
or
counts.
just I feel like that's like a different, like, teen horror films deserve like their own like category. It can go down that rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah, there should be subgenres within, like, for sure.
Mhm.
Continuing on with the vampire theme, Interview with a Vampire.
Yes, yeah.
Are you watching the show? I've heard it's really great.
Yes,
I'm
the show
afraid.
is so
I need to watch
good.
it.
Okay.
Highly recommend.
Because after she passed, I'm just worried that like they're gonna take this thing that I love and make it something else. And I'd rather it just be what it was.
I think she gave the blessing for this one.
Okay.
Or this adaptation, and also the witches one that's coming
Mayfair
out in the
Witches.
spring. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, cool. I didn't know there was another one coming.
Yes. In fact, I think it should have already been out. Isn't it delayed for some reason?
I think so.
Yeah. Any
Maybe-
other?
I think I don't know if this really qualifies either, but it was on my short list. The Lighthouse. I think there's like a horror element to The Lighthouse.
That one's a good one.
Another movie that I truly had way too much fun at for what it was. I went to a press screening. I was sitting there with my notebook and my pen, and I was like, like I was just so delighted by Robert Pattinson acting like a maniac. For I'm there anytime he wants to act like a maniac. I'll be there in the theater, just cheering him on.
Yeah. Well, that guy should have his own like. Robert Eggers should have his own category,
Yeah,
right? The Witch, the Lighthouse, like those are all.
The Witch is a short list for me too.
So good.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, this isn't scary in any way, but the old Addams Family with Angelica Houston.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
That will always be the Addams Family movie to me. Like Michael Keaton will always be my Batman. Everyone else is very good, but Michael Keaton is my Batman, and Angelica Houston is my Morticia.
I would have, yeah, I guess that's like camp horror.
Family friendly horror.
Yeah, family friendly.
Right.
That's a great movie. I rewatched that, I think last Halloween, and was like, oh yeah, this is just they don't make movies like that anymore. Sad.
Christopher Lloyd.
Ugh.
But Joan Cusack.
Oh God.
I love her.
Is she in the second one?
No, wait, she's
Or
in
the first one.
First one, yeah. Because
They run together for me.
Yeah, same.
But I like them both.
Yeah. Death Becomes Her is one for me. I'm not sure it's in the horror. It's more like camp comedy.
Yeah.
With a little bit of body horror, because that was like the special effects. There's so many. If you ask me like next week, it'll definitely be a different list.
All right. Sage, do you have anything to plug?
Well, first of all, you can follow me on Twitter at Sage Youngest if you would like, where I tweet a lot about TV. Speaking of horror, I'm doing a rewatch of The X-Files with some friends right now. So there's a lot of tweeting about that. So if you're into horror TV, come and follow that. And then I have a blog called Head Over Feels, where we talk a lot about TV and movies, and it's mostly TV. But yeah, you can find me there as well.
Awesome. LaQuad, do you have anything to plug?
Unfortunately, I don't. I will have to say, today was the first time I saw the Megan trailer
I can't wait.
in the big screen. And I was just like, I was hitting Nate, like, you gotta watch this, see this, please. So looking forward to that. I mean, there are a lot of really great fall films that I just need to like pare down and kind of prioritize. So I think that I don't have anything to plug other than organizing, watching more movies. What about you, Chris? Do you have anything to plug?
No, but I am gonna go see Bram Stoker's Dracula today.
Oh, fun.
At AMC. So they're doing a limited showing of it.
Cool.
So I will get to see that, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that on the big screen. That'll be really fun.
Yes.
I don't think I've seen all of it.
7 p.m. today at Times Square.
Cool.
Empire 25. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Thank you, Sage.
Great to have you.